Established in January 1974, Kerry Cooperative Creameries Limited, or Kerry Co-op, celebrates a special anniversary, 50 years. This podcast series has been created by Mary Lavery Carrig, based on the first board photographed together in January 1974. This is Mary, and you are welcome to A Chat with Mary, Voices from Kerry Co-op's story. In this episode, episode 6, we hear from Hugh Friel. We are all aware of his immense role at Kerry Co-op and Kerry plc. I asked him to speak about his early life. Here is what he told me.
I was born in Fanad, which is in the northeast of Donegal, surrounded by the Atlantic Ocean to the north, Mulroy Bay to the west, and Lough Swilly to the east. It's almost an island. It's a long peninsula, a beautiful peninsula, very similar to many of the Kerry peninsulas. And I went to national school at, I think, about 5.5, because we had to cycle some distance. And I think it's about 1.5 miles. And when we got a little older, myself and my sister cycled to another national school, which was in a Brockgilted, because we wanted to, it was all Irish, it was a Gael school of its time. And was there until I was 14, and went to St. Junan's College in Letterkenny. I was 14 in July, and went there in September. Probably by today's standards, a little on the old side, but I think to me it was an advantage, because later on going to university, I went to university at 19, which I think was also an advantage rather than going at, say, 17. And I would still hold strongly to that view. After leaving CERT, I went to London for that summer to try and make some money, because I had decided I was going to university in Galway. And there was no free education at that time. Neither was there in St. Junan's, but I didn't have the funds, and I didn't want to impose such a charge or cost on my parents. Galway was a wonderful place. There were 1,800 students there at that time. It was a little city within a city, and Galway was a small city then. Student life was exceptional in my view. I was very fond of Galway, very fond of my full time there. But every opportunity I had to go off. I didn't have a job there outside of studying, but I went to London at Christmas of that year, and that got me through to the end of the year. In my second year, I went back to London, and in my third year, I went to New York. But back in Galway, it was possible to know darn near all of the 1,800 students. It were very few exceptions that you didn't recognise, know, or just to say hello to. And after study or after lectures, we would come outside, stand around the archway for a chat. It was like after Mass long ago here, and weather permitting. It was there I met my late wife, Olive, and she was a year younger and a year ahead of me in college. Yeah, I was doing a BCom, and Olive was also doing a BCom, so we had a common interest, although she was going teaching, and I thought about it. I didn't really give it too much thought. I was more interested in pursuing along the business lines. I went back to New York after graduating, and I got a job with Aer Lingus in New York. I got it from the American side, not from Dublin. I was working on the administrative side. Interesting and exciting. New York is a very exciting place to work and to live, but you need to have an awful lot more money than I was earning. It was tough going. Unfortunately, the Vietnam War was at its peak, and I had a permanent alien card. I got a permanent alien card, or a green card. When I went there first, it was possible at that time, the first time I went to New York. The risk of ending up in the Vietnam War was very, very high. I was single, I was fit, and I was able, and I would have been a key target. So I decided very, very quickly that I have to move, and I came back to London, and I got a job in London in the accounts department and the head office of Mobil Oil in Victoria Street in London. That again was, I like London, but a city that you need to earn a lot more than I was earning. However, from there I came back to Mallow in County Cork with Éireann Foods as the assistant accountant. In the summer of '69, we got engaged. Olive had secured a position in the convent, teaching in the convent in Buttevant, and we hadn't any plans at that point to get married, but we said we'd get married as soon as it was feasible. And Olive went to London with her friend for the summer. While she was in London, I was offered the position of accountant in Tuam, which I agreed to, and Olive called out to see them in Buttevant, and she came back and called to see them. So we went to Tuam, and we got married in 1970 in Tuam. In Tuam I met two very interesting people. One was the head of the agriculture, the same age as myself, Tom Walsh, the agricultural advisor in the company, and the other was a man called Michael O'Reilly, who was dairy science but actually working with Éireann Foods. We talked a lot about the EU and the prospects within the EU when we would join. Some of the people that were very knowledgeable at that time were Alan Dukes, who was an economist with the IFA, and Paddy Jordan, who was working with the Confederation of Irish Industry. Both of them later moved to Brussels when we joined the EU, but they were at the forefront of knowledge about what was going to be happening. And we were studying the different prospects. Michael O'Reilly secured a position with what was then Avonmore. We kept in touch. We met shortly after he started there. In January, Michael O'Reilly, who had now joined Avonmore, phoned me to tell me that there was an ad in that day's paper for a company called North Kerry Milk Products, who were looking for a chief financial officer, chief accountant. He told me about, he knew Dennis. He told me he had been Cork himself, he had done dairy science, that he was a good guy, gave me the heads up on Dennis. So he had called that one right. I applied, was appointed. 10 of us joined Dennis, who had started on the 1st of January, on the 1st of April 1972 in Listowel. In Mallow, the factory, Éireann Foods and the Irish Sugar Company had a team in the interfirm football. Shortly after arriving, I decided to play football with Kilshannig, which was a junior club. There wasn't much activity in Mallow at the time, and two of us on the Kilshannig team were selected, myself and another guy called Horgan, were selected on the Avondhu team. So I played in the Cork Senior Championship in '69, played centre field, and we were beaten by Clonakilty in the old athletic grounds, as it was then called. We had quite a good team. We had Mick Burke was centre field, along with me, and Bob Hounahan was full forward, both senior county players. So it was a good team, but the Clonakilty guys had the Hayes brothers, who were top county players at that time.
I wish to say a sincere thank you to Hugh Friel. Thank you too to Charlie Nelligan for concertina music. You have been listening to a podcast series, episode 6, from A Chat with Mary, Voices from Kerry Co-op's Story. This is Mary Lavery Carrig, and thank you for listening.